So people ask me, what are all these different levels and layers and different bits and pieces with freedom of spirit? So good question. And actually, I wasn't clear for a while because when I first started working with this new modality, all I had in mind was a weekend workshop. I thought, great, let's do this weekend workshop. That will give people an incredible boost, which will help them go back into their lives and keep building on that and expanding their sense of sovereignty and expression. And it will bring more meaning to everything. And I thought, fantastic. And actually, I do still feel that about the foundation workshop. But as I was actually developing the workshop, which took me about 5 months, about half of which was taken up with my own resistance, as I was resisting doing this for no other reason than my own inner self-censoring and self-worth issues and all of that and confusions. Anyway, so as I was developing it, first I developed how is the weekend going to work, and then I was putting together a workbook so that participants could actually have something to refer to when they needed to, but also so they had something they could take home and continue to work with the material if they wanted to. I was writing this workbook, 2 workbooks, one for participants and one for me as the facilitator. I went, oh my God, I am actually writing this facilitator workbook in such a way that someone else could pick it up and run with it. And that's when I knew, and this was before I'd even run the first foundation workshop, that's when I knew that I would be teaching other people to run this workshop and accrediting them to do that, for them to be able to go away and do that within their communities, with their clients and so on. So, well, that was interesting. That was very interesting because that met with a kind of yearning I'd had within me, which was to pass on some of what I can do to other people, and which before I hadn't felt able to do that or ready to do that because, quite honestly, what I'm able to do now is the result of decades of work and study and exploration and trial and error and my own personal evolving and etc. How on earth could I pass on? And I kind of realized at that point, well, I can't pass on all of that, but what I can do is I can pass on a modular aspect of that, which through learning how to deal with that and work with that and deliver that, somebody can then expand the aspects within themselves that they want to expand and that fit with them on their path. So that as practitioners and leaders or facilitators, whoever they might be, they are then accelerated on their own personal path, as opposed to becoming a kind of a Catherine clone. And nobody wants that, least of all me. So that's when I realized that's part of what I was doing and why I was doing it. And then after I'd run the first workshop, I then came to realize some people are going to want to engage with this on a one-to-one basis, a slightly gentler basis, spread out over a little bit longer period of time, rather than an intensive weekend. So I then developed Freedom of Spirit Solo, which is the 3 sessions over a 3 to 6 week period with home assignments and reflections and contemplations in between. And I then kind of was told at that point, Catherine, you've got to train people to deliver this and accredit that. And that is a stepping stone to then training to deliver the workshop. So we now have Freedom of Spirit Solo, Freedom of Spirit Foundation Workshop, Freedom of Spirit Level 2, which equips you to deliver the solo, and Freedom of Spirit Level 3, which equips you to deliver the workshop. Having then put that together, and the first Freedom of Spirit Level 2 program has now begun, it was then obvious that people who'd done the workshop might want to come back for a little top-up session, a 70-minute top-up session. And after someone's done Level 2, they're going to want to come back and redo the activation, the practitioner activation. So the refresh session developed and the activation session developed. So we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components in what I call the Freedom of Spirit kaleidoscope. And they all fit together, they all make sense. And we're currently working on a website for Freedom of Spirit, which might already been born by the time you're listening to this. And on there, all these elements are explained in depth, and how they link to each other are explained in depth. So that's what came through. And I've just told you that in a very short period of time. This process took about 2 years to come to fruition. So it's all been pre-packaged and pre-digested and prepared so that you can step into it and engage with it right off the bat whenever you're ready.